Okay, so we're working on exercise 8. We've downloaded the fonts. We've downloaded the Microsoft Word document, which is pretty clean. We probably should open the PDF and see what it's supposed to look like. Oops, it says the file's not found, so pardon me. I'll get it from my folder where I put it. So this should look something like this when it's done. We will do what's called a print booklet feature in InDesign, where it puts the front and back cover next to each other. And so there's your front cover. It seems kind of odd that your front cover is actually on the right, but when it folds, that makes sense. A lot of people, when they're first doing this, they can think, oh, the cover is going to go over there on the left, because we read from left to right, until they fold it. And they're like, oops, that's now the back cover. So any of you guys who are doing any little covers or flyers, your first page is actually going to be printed on that right-hand side. And it seems a little out of ordinary for a lot of us. Yeah, if you spread a book out, you can kind of understand where the front cover goes, your spine, and your back cover. This has no spine. Okay, so we kind of can say that, yes, if you wanted to center appetizer combo, you could now, but I'm just going to do it later in InDesign. I already saved the Word document. It is a really clean Word document. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to keep that up. Now let's get this document started in InDesign. This is called a letter half. That's what it says in the assignment. It says that the document size is letter half. So each page is half of a letter-sized document. Okay, it's not going to be a letter-sized document. It'll print on letter paper. We're going to have half-inch margins. We're going to have 2 columns with a 1 pica gutter. And we're going to also use some master pages for items that occur on every page. I don't know that we've covered that we covered it on a table of contents before, but that was just 2 pages. So we're going to continue using master pages. We're not going to do page numbers. That's not typical on a menu. But we're going to put some of those decorative items on the master page. We're definitely learned enough to where we can use proper paragraph and character formatting and then create paragraph styles and character styles and apply them. Guys, this thing, if I were not teaching and I were just putting this together, this thing would be done in probably a half hour or less. Isn't that nice? Because if you don't know this stuff, how long does it take then? All day. You're going to print your temp. Of course, you need to put your name on the corner, maybe on the cover, actually. You're going to print your temp in spreads and then fold down the middle. We're going to print front and back, and we're going to use the print booklet feature, which is something that you guys probably have not done before. And it's kind of magical how it automatically puts the pages together for you.
Yeah, I used to have printed that before. It worked great.
It is fabulous. You just have to make sure that you have a page count that's divisible by 4. Because on a piece of paper, when you fold it in half, you can count. There's 4 pages. So if you have a 30-page book, you can't have a 30-page book and have it print out properly. It has to be either 28 pages or 32 pages. It has to be divisible by 4. Okay? I've had a lot of students. I tell them that, and they don't remember. Next thing I know, they got a 10-page book, and they think it's going to print out just fine in a little booklet. And I'm like, no, you need 12 pages or 8 pages. You got 2 sheets. There are 2 pages per side on a piece of paper, and so that's 2 sides of paper. So each piece of paper accommodates 4 pages. We know we're going to package the InDesign file, rename it the proper name, zip it, and turn it in here. I'm having it due Monday at the beginning of class, but if we get done by the end of day, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? That means no homework. All right, let's get the party started. We know based off of the conversation we just had on the guidelines there that we need to go to the print dialog or print document area, and let's see if they have a letter half. Do they have a letter half in these areas? Oh gosh, letter half. Oh, these are different, 33 and 42. I'm going to go inches just to see if that, oh, they still got them in picas. Which one is it? Letter half, 33 picas?
The other one is legal half.
Oh, legal. I'm sorry. It's my glasses. Thank you. There it is. Thank you very much. Letter half. There it is. Do we want facing pages?
Yeah.
How many pages do we have in this document?
4.
Excellent. We'll start it at page 1. That's fine. How many columns did they say to have?
2.
Excellent. 2. How much for your gutter? 1 pica. And it was a 1/2 inch margin, was it not?
Yeah.
Is 3 picas a 1/2 inch?
Yeah.
Yes. Guys, on the PDF, I don't think I have it open anymore. Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, shoot, I can't minimize. The PDF, did it have a bleed? Does this bleed? No. This saves the client a lot of money. But yet, we did something beautifully. Sometimes we do not want to do bleeds because we want to be able to let the client print these out as they need them, and they won't be able to if there's bleeds. They have to then cut them and do all sorts of stuff. So this one does not have a bleed. Just leave your bleed at 0. Okay? I'm going to hit the preview button and see what it looks like. Yes, Phil, you have a question?
I was just wondering if we're going to do landscape instead of portrait.
Nope, we're going to do portrait. That is actually half. If I take this, if I take a letter size document, oh, that's a nice piece of paper. I hate to fold it, but I'm going to. If you take a letter size document and you fold it like this, that is lettered half. So each page is going to be portrait. Okay? You would think that when you open it up, it's landscape. Well, technically, they're 2 separate pages, and each page is portrait. They just happen to be in a format of landscape when they print. Very good question, Phil.
I think we could use booklet if you had it opening up.
Oh, yes, there's the calendar style. Yeah, but this is not going to be calendar style. That's a whole other demonstration. Yeah, this is more of a booklet style, not calendar style. So let's click Create because the preview looks pretty good. That's pretty accurate. And one of the things I'll do off the bat is I'll likely go to my master pages and put elements on the master page. Now, if we look at I'll tell you what, we don't normally have the PDF, but if you look at the PDF, sometimes I'll place it. So let's go to File and Place. We're going to get rid of it later. Maybe even create a new layer, because then we can turn it off. So go to your Layers panel, create a new layer. Maybe on Layer 1, because we can turn that off and it's underneath stuff. We can place, by going to File and Place, a PDF of the book, or of the, excuse me, not the book, the booklet, the menu. Okay, so I'm going to place it. I really needed to pop it up in position there. And let me kind of center the, I'm not worried about the front cover. I'm looking at this back cover, okay? Let me just move that over just a little bit more. This does align to this 2-column grid, okay? So we were accurate in setting up the grid. Now, I didn't click and drag and put this in here because that would have made it smaller. I just clicked and it's 100% of the size. So we know that, excuse me, we know that the outside and inside margins are dead on. We know that the column widths are dead on. And we also know that the gutter is pretty much dead on. And all of the text, assuming I can just kind of arrow it around, all the text fits within the pink margins. Questions? Yeah. I don't know what happened either. Right click on it, go to display performance, and go to typical. It's giving you a super fast display or something. High. I'm not sure why. Guys, this is a problem that some of you may have someday. We had a problem with it coming in and like this, gray. When an image comes in gray like this, your display performance is likely set to a really fast display. The super fast display just shows a box with an X in it. So you may have to right-click on an image, go to display performance, and make it high quality. Now, if it's still gray, sometimes we actually have to go to InDesign preferences and go to display performance and knock those up all to be really high quality. The only problem with this is your computer runs more slowly with the high quality display. Guys, don't try to fool me and place this PDF, print it, and tell me you did it. I've had it happen, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? That really is insulting, because you know what? A student who does that to me, they must think I'm really dumb. Don't do that. This is just something that we put so we can see if it aligns to the grid. We will turn it off or throw it away later. Okay, I'm going to click off of this for just a second because I don't want the bounding box to be selected. Okay, these maroon lines right here, not these red ones. Let's hit the W key. Well, if I hit the W key, the grid's going to be gone. But you can see we have maroon lines and we have little maroon flourish elements in the corners. Those are in what's called the margin area. These are called margin elements. They're elements outside of the columns. They're typically decorative things that are not text. We notice that text does fall within the columns. That is typically the rule of thumb unless we're talking about headlines. So we are learning to use grids pretty well. We are trying to keep this text into the grid. That's just how body copy works. Okay, if you would please, you could lock that layer if you want, but also turn it off. So that's lock it. Oh, we also probably want to tell it not to print. Let's see if it can be a non-printable layer. If you double click on that layer, you can say suppress, uncheck print layer. So you don't accidentally print that layer. Oh, that's nice to know. So it can be there, but it will not show up when you're printing. Oops. Even if you put it on the master page, you can put it on its own layer and tell it to not print. I'm sorry. What was that?
I think it was because it was blocked.
Yeah, unlock the layer, then double click on it and uncheck print layer.
Yeah, do that, it just disappears.
Possibly because the eyeball's been clicked on or off. Oh, mine's still there. My eyeball's on. What is going on here? How interesting.
Unchecked print layer, and then off that, it just disappears.
And when I turn my eyeball off and on, it stays on. Well, if it gives us real fits, we can always just delete it.
Okay, now it's working fine. What did you do?
I just pressed the delete because it was like that.
Oh, the W key is clicked.
Oh, W?
It disappears. Just
Mine won't disappear, guys. It's. I told it not to print. I am turning the layer off and on. Mine is still there. So if you're having problems with it, we were just looking at it just to see how the grid structure worked. In the real world, we don't have this. We don't have a PDF of the design that we're going to create. Nobody says, here's the design that you're going to create. You're the designer, you have to go to that point. But this is just a nice thing to show you the example of what it'll look like in the end. So I'm going to throw that layer away because it's giving me problems. Okay? Oh my gosh, it's still there. What are you doing here? It was on both layers. Okay, that's why. Okay, this is my problem. And now it won't move. You stinker. There we go. This one is, yeah, layers in InDesign, guys, are not as easy as Illustrator and Photoshop. They're rather cantankerous. Yes. Basically, I'm calling InDesign an old stubborn fart. Okay, I'm gonna hit the W key so I can, well, gosh darn it, let's turn that off. There we go. All right, so get it in a layer that you can turn off, and then you can lock it, and so it doesn't move on you if you want to reference it. Just make sure. I'm going to have to actually edit this and make sure it is not a printable layer. Okay, it's not good. All right. Let's go to your Pages panel, and let's talk about master page items, if you would. Double click on your A master. That is a double click, not a single click. If your words A master are not blue and the 2 pages are not selected, or at least one of them, then you're not on your master. So we see on the PDF that we have, we may have to create 2 masters. Look at that. Oh, you've only ever created 1. We're going to create 2 masters. 1 master page is going to have a broken frame here in the middle. It doesn't go across the whole page, because when it's folded, it looks better to have that all contained on one side. But when you open it, it looks better if it flows across what's called the crossover bleed. It flows across the spine or the fold. Oh yeah, because if they put this in 2 different sort of boxes, it wouldn't feel as if they're family as much. So we have to create 2 different master pages for this. So we are going to go to this master page. Now this symbol, I was trying to find it. It may be that this symbol is a wingding. Yep, I said it. This was not in the package folder. This little flourish. There are typefaces that come with wingdings and webdings and dingbats and all sorts of things. And that probably is a dingbat or a wingding or a webding or whatever. We call them dingbats. Now I'm going to deal with that in a moment, but for now I am going to put a little, let's get in the layer that I am actually going to be using. There we go. Make sure you're on the layer that's not locked. And we are going to, maybe for now, I'm going to put a placeholder square in there. Now, does anybody know how to draw a square from the center out? Like if I start drawing, it's not from the center out. We are going to use Option and start dragging, and then Grantis said also perhaps hold down the Shift key after you start doing this, and it will stay perfectly square. That's what Grantis was telling us. And Phil was telling us to hold down the Alt key initially so we could draw from the center out. So hold down the Alt key, start drawing your square, don't let off your mouse, then hold the Shift key down and you'll see it turns into a perfect square. Perfect. Keep those held down and the mouse and get it so it's about that size. Let off the mouse first. If you let off your Shift and Alt first, it will screw you over. Now, just because I need something for position only, I am going to make this a red color. We know it's not red, we know it's maroon, but for now, I'm just going to put it there as a placeholder. Okay, I'll deal with getting that symbol later. Now, I probably should put one on every corner, you reckon? So if I want to copy and paste it over here, what's the keyboard shortcut that I should use while I'm dragging it over so it'll copy? Alt or Option to copy, and then Shift to keep it in line. How do I know if this is equal distance from the edge of the page to the margin line? I don't. So let's do a little cleaning up there. I'm going to get my zoom tool. Click Z, it'll go right to it. And I'm going to zoom into one of these guys. It doesn't matter which one, but I'm going to go upper left corner. That is not centered in that space. Now, sometimes guides will let us know if we're centered in a space, but in this case it does not. No guides are coming on. I suppose we know it's a 3 pica margin. Oh, well that's cool. We do know that. What's half of 3 picas?
That is 1.5.
Right. Now, there's a little trick to this, and if you've had Illustrator class or worked with Illustrator, you may know about this. Uh-oh, Mom, my pointers are gone. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's pretty weak, but we're going to use it. See this guy right here? Assuming he's selected with the black arrow tool, the selection tool. Do you see this little square guy up here? You know what he is? He will move your stuff depending on whether you want to move it based off the XY axis of the upper corner or any other corner or center. Click on the center one. He's not going to move anywhere yet, but we're getting ready to move him. We're going to move him half. So if half of 3 picas is 1.5 picas, we can tell him to be at the 1.5 pica point, both in the X and Y axes. So 1.5 picas in pica language is 1p what? 1p6. I'm going to put that in the x-axis, x-axis, and I'm going to put it in the y-axis. Oh, there we go. It is perfectly half of the margin up, over, and down. That may take a little bit to wrap your head around. We know the margin is 3 picas. If we click on we click on him first and click on the center, so it moves it based off of its center, and we type in 1.5 picas X and Y, it should put it right in the right place. No, your width and height will not change. Only the X and Y axes were the things we were working on. Your width and height for this square may be slightly different than mine, and that's okay, but the X and Y axes should be 1p6. Now watch what happens if I have the wrong point of origin selected. So right now I have the center point origin selected. If I had the upper left, which is default, here's what it's going to do. Maybe we forgot and we weren't paying attention to this beautiful little square right here. So if I type in 1p6 here, it puts it right at the corner of the margin. And that may be right, but I don't think it is. I could turn on the PDF and find out, but that seems a little tight. So that's because I have the wrong point of origin selected. So I need to put that back on center and put it back at 1p6. And again, this is X and Y only, not W and H. Width and height, it just needs to be square and kind of fit up in there, okay? So your width and height, like mine's 1p6.2. Well, that's a really odd number. As long as it's not huge, we're good. Now, let's go over to the other side. Oh, now this gets a little bit more complicated. The y-axis is 1p6, okay? So I'm going to put 1p6. Oops. Yeah, make sure the center origin is selected, and it is. The x-axis, oh no. Right now it's at 31p4, but it does, it's like, oh no. I don't know. I don't like doing math. 31p6. Is it 31p6? Let's try it. 31p6. Yay, it's centered. Thank you. How many of you guys like doing math? Some of you, but how many of you guys are like, I'm too much in a hurry to do math, and it's also a little complicated, and I don't want to trouble myself with it? That's most of us. I love math, but I don't want to trouble myself with it. Here is a little secret for you. If you're like, if these are some really odd numbers, which they really are kind of weird, and you're like, oh my God, I need to get this guy to center between here and here, watch this. This is awesome. We already know this 1p6. You see this little corner crosshatch in the ruler right here? Let me see if I can get, there he is. This guy. If I click and drag him to, say, the margin element right here, that becomes the 0 point on the ruler. What? So if I click on my square, I can just tell it 1p6 in the x-axis, and it'll move 1p6 on center from that point because that's 0. Oh, you can move that thing around? Yeah, because I don't, guys, I can do math. I love math, but I don't have time. Now, once you move that 0 over, you'll want to go, okay, I've done that. I don't want to confuse myself later. If you just simply double click on that XY axis beginning point, double click on it, it'll go back to the original 0. I use that a lot. And it's not because I don't love math, it's just I don't have time for it. So I can drag this to that margin line, it'll snap right to it, and that will become my 0, and I can measure from there. That's handy to know. Okay, let's take these and let's move them down to the bottom. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, start dragging, hold down the Shift key then, and pop him down in here. Is he in the right spot as far as the y-axis goes. He's okay in the x-axis, but is he okay in the y-axis? I don't know. I don't want to guess. Here's where I'm going to grab my corner ruler point, my origin point. I'm going to drag it down to the margin. And on my y-axis, I'm going to type in 1p6. Sure as heck beats doing all the mathematics. And it's totally 100% accurate. Now, is that confused, folks? Yeah, you're not used to it. It's first time kind of thing. It can confuse you. But if you know what that's for and you practice it, you're like, oh, now I kind of get it. This is the first time you've probably seen it. So you can move that 0 point around anywhere you want. Gee, I should save this. Milbury REX8. I have got the noisiest chair. Sorry about that. Now, we want to grab these guys, maybe group them, Command G. You can even hit Command A to select all, because there's all we have on here right now is squares. And if we Alt drag them over to the other side, oh, thank you, InDesign. You see that pink line popping up going, you're centered now. When you see the pink line popping up in the middle, let off. Oh, thank God I don't have to do any more math. Because it's grouped and those are perfectly aligned to one another, it puts it right dead center because the smart guides are on. And smart guides are found under View, Grids and Guides, and Smart Guides. So that was that pink line that happened was a smart guide. Yeah, do it one more time. Okay, so select all of the squares. So hit Command A, group them, Command G. Click on, make sure you're not clicking in the white, because if you click in the white, it doesn't move anything. Click on one of the red squares, preferably for me, I'm in the upper right-hand corner. Hold down the Alt key, start dragging it over to the right page, then start holding down the Shift key. Drag it over there till you see a pink line in the middle of that page, right down the little gutter between the columns. When you see the pink line, let off of your mouse, then let off of Shift and Alt, or Option. And save it. It's pretty easy, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. Let's zoom in to, I'm gonna put my paragraph and character styles away right now. That you guys can come out to play later. Put them over here, parking them in the little dock area. You're in my way, I got a seat. Now I am going to draw a line between these two. Now I'll center it between them two. I'm just clicking and dragging a line. Make sure after you start to click and drag, hold down the Shift key so it stays perfectly straight. Okay, click, drag, then hold the Shift key down. We need to get a more accurate color here. And that's okay, I'm going to show you something really exciting later. So let's just go ahead and make this line red. If you're up in the control panel up here, you can drop down on this square looking donut that's black. Click on that, that is your stroke color. Just make it the default red, that's fine. And 1 point is probably fine. If it has a 0, you won't see the line. See, it's gone. So make sure you have a 1 point rule or 1 point line. Now, the keyboard shortcut for the select tool when you're in a type box is the escape key, but when you're in another tool, it's the V key. So I'm going to click on the V key, keyboard shortcut. It gets me the selection tool. And because I don't want to do any math, I'm going to click on this line and make sure that, oh, there's the pink, yay! And it usually will tell me that it's centered to these, oh, darn it. It'll tell me it's centered to the red lines up and down, but it's not doing that, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to double click on my 0 point of origin, and both, let's see here, the y-axis up here, I just need to put 1p6. I already know that's what that is. There we go, 1p6, it's perfect. Now, if I were a smart person, which I usually am, I should have gone ahead and drawn that line before I started copying pasting things down here, but I didn't. Because I could have gotten the squares and the line and copied them down here, but I didn't. So I'm going to Alt, start dragging it, hold down the Shift key after you start dragging it, and pop him down here. I have to do extra work now. I wasn't working smarter, now I'm working harder. Now I'm going to zoom down into that area. I need to make sure he is exactly dead center to these squares, and the smart guides are not showing me that he is. So I'm like, oh great, well let me grab this little 0 origin crosshair. I'll take it to the margin line, and on the y-axis I'll type in 1p6, and he will move perfectly to that area. Now to get your 0 back to the right place, double click on that little crosshair.
I typed in 1p6 and went down like almost to the bottom of the square.
Okay, when you typed in 1p6, it moved down to the bottom. It's likely that on your little point of origin, well, it doesn't give you a bottom.
It's in the middle.
Okay, well, maybe on your crosshair, drag that to the pink line again, like so. Then get your line, and then see if your y-axis is 1p6 still.
Yeah.
After you drag this to, after you grab the crosshair and you drag it to the pink, then click on your line. And does it say 1p6 in the y?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting. Oh, it's because your squares here are not at 1p6. So click on both of your squares, hold down the Shift key, so you can get both of them, and you can kill him. And then type in 1p6 on your squares. Guys, if your line is not centered to your squares and you've done everything, you pulled the crosshair down to the margin, and you find out that for some reason, let me just show you, for some reason they are not aligned to your squares, well, that likely is because your squares are not 1.5 picas from the top or bottom of the margin. So you'll want to get that to get to 1p6. And of course, we have a left and a right too. Now you might want to double click on your little crosshair to make sure your back to your 0 point is still goes back to the upper left-hand corner of the document. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to start drawing another line, hoping it's centered to the other square. It may not be. I'm going to hold down my Shift key to make sure it's straight. I'm going to make it red. And it looks like for him, the x-axis, I got it dead on, 1p6, but you'll want to move him to 1p6. Now, how do I know if I have an equal amount of white space between this vertical line in the box and the horizontal line in the box? It's not, it looks like it might be, but we don't know. Guys, again, mathematics, I love it, but I'm not going to do it. I am so lazy. I grab a rectangle tool. I'm like, okay, I'm going to draw a little rectangle right here. It's as wide as the space. See, perfectly wide. In fact, I probably should make that perfectly square so I don't screw up. So I may go from the center out, Option or Alt and Shift, and so that one's a lot more difficult. It's not one. It's wanting to snap to. Okay, well, we'll just stop. Okay, I'm gonna have to just go from left to right on this one. Ooh, you may have to turn off snap to too. It's really giving me fits.
Well, you made another box go around that red box from the inside and middle of that.
I'm sorry, Phil, you just said something way over my head. What was that?
Well, the big red box, if you make another box from the center of that to go to the outside of your distance, it'll give you both sides instead of one.
So you're saying do something like this,
Yep.
equal distant, and then, so that's, yeah, that saves me some work, doesn't it? Hey, I've never done it that way, Phil, and now I'm going to, because I've done it.
The way it said that.
Yeah, that's a lot more efficient than the way I was going to show it. So Phil's suggestion is to duplicate this box. You may have to double click on it because it's in a grouped element. So double click on the box so that's isolated. He says, hold down the Option or Alt key, start dragging, hold down the Shift key, and it does it exactly 45 degrees. And then you match it up to one of those lines, and then you realize, oh, this line needs to come down a little bit. Yeah, Phil.
I just meant like make another box so you have a stroke to go around that box of that distance from the center of that.
So you're saying, oh my goodness,
So you don't have to drag.
you're like going, hey, do this, but set it on the outside?
No.
Oh gosh, darn it. That's another way to do it, though.
It's like you're making a whole new box, but you're just going from the center of that one out.
I'm going to have to, I think because I'm a visual person, I'm going to have to see this. But was my method just as quick as yours? No? This one right here was not as quick?
It could cause problems too.
It really could, huh? After I delete that box. Okay, let me see what you're doing because I clearly am not verbally quite getting it.
So say you have your box here. Let's go to that with black instead. If you make another box from the center of that to the distance you need.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, okay. It's kind of similar to what I was doing, but instead of making a bigger box, I just shifted my box. Okay. So I'm gonna look at through what Phil did because it makes a lot of sense. Okay. And it's quick. Okay, so he says you have this box already. Go to the center of that box. There should be a center butt thing that comes up, and draw a second box. Oh, see, mine doesn't center. Darn it. How about this? I'll copy and paste in place. Copy, paste in place, because mine is not doing what it needs to do. So if you copy and paste in place, it's two boxes. Now, he said I made that box black or some other color so I wouldn't mistake it for my red box. Then he held down the Alt key and the Shift key and he made it bigger. And then he drug the lines to the edge of that box. So then when he got rid of that box, they were absolutely equal distance. Yeah. So the way you did it and the way I did it, both of them it's a different way to skin the cat, but it gets you the same result. The first thing I was showing, like drawing a little box, that's too much trouble because then I have to copy and paste the box and do all sorts of stuff. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom here. I'm going to do the same thing. Double click on the red box, make sure it's isolated. Copy it, paste it in place, enlarge it, maybe make it a different color, doesn't really matter which one. Enlarge it holding the Option or Alt key and the Shift key. I'm going to the horizontal line because that was the first line I drew, snapping right to it. And I just learned that this line right here needs to shorten and snap right to the edge of that. And delete my yellow box. And make sure that's still equal distance. Make sure you don't move your line, but you shorten it. And then I'm going to drag that little line, holding the Alt key and the Shift key, over to the center of the other squares. And if I want to, I can pull my crosshair and make sure that he is at 1p6 on the X. 1p6. There we go. Then I'm going to double click on my crosshairs. Now, what should we do with these squares on the right-hand page? Should we leave them? Delete them. Let's just copy and paste this over, right? I don't want to have to do that again. So maybe group those, select all, group. Delete the other ones first, though. Delete the other ones first, then select all and group. And then we'll drag them on over, and it will tell us when it's centered. We're holding the Alt key or Option key down while we're dragging, and then we hold the Shift key down so it'll stay perfectly aligned. And there we go. We have it. Now, that was all on a master page. If you were on a page of your document, oops. What if I accidentally drew this on pages 2 and 3 of my document and not on my master? let me go like this. Let's say I accidentally, and this happens to people all the time, I meant for this to be on the master, but it's actually on pages 2 and 3 of the document. Oh man, I need to make a master out of that. You can select all that. You can copy it or cut it. Then you can double click on your master and just tell it to paste in place. Yeah, yay, that's easy. Now, we're going to have to make a second master that deletes, gets rid of the 2 boxes in the center up top, the 2 at the bottom, and the 2 lines, and we have to merge or marry these 2 lines together. So we can copy everything that we've done, and we're going to create a second master. So once you get this all in place and it's perfectly symmetrical and the right position, copy it. Select all and copy it. Now in the master pages area of your pages panel where it says A master, if you can't see much space and it's really squished up to the A master, there's a little gray bar. You can click and pull it down so you can expand and see if you have additional master pages or make room for additional master pages. So pull that down a little bit.
Me too.
This bunch over here,
Yeah.
you don't have that over there, right? But you do have this over here, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so what you do is you select all and you group it. Command A for all, Command G for group. All you do is hold down the Alt or Option key, and you're with the the selection tool, the black arrow tool. Hold down the Option key, start clicking and dragging over, and then hold your Shift key down so it stays in line. And as soon as you see the pink pop up in the center of that page between the columns, let off of your mouse. Oh.
That's
Okay.
why not.
The how to get the spaces equal here. Okay, so let me kind of mess this up a little bit. All right, so how you get spaces equal between, because we know this, we're going to marry to this space right here. It's good. And we want this space right here on this vertical line to be the equal to that. So what we did, double click on one of the squares, particularly the upper left-hand corner. Go to Edit and Copy, or Command C, and then go to Edit and paste it on top of itself. Paste in place. Because we don't want to delete the wrong square, we make that a different color than red. Pink, black, it really doesn't matter. You just don't want to be confused as to what you have selected. Now, what we can do now is we're going to try to achieve this space that's right here. So we're going to enlarge this box to the point where it pops right to the edge of this line. By holding down the Alt key, it will do it from the center out. And hold down the Shift key so it stays square. And it will kind of snap right in there, usually. There we go. Or just get it to go right to the edge of that line. Now, before I let off my mouse and my Shift and my Alt, you can see that when that this square is going past the vertical line, the line below. This tells me I need to shorten that line. So I'm going to let off of the mouse, let off of Shift and Option. Select this line. You may have to double click if it's grouped. Select the line, and then with your selection tool, drag the point to the edge of the square. Then delete the blue square or whatever color square. Those are absolutely accurately the same amount of space. How many of you guys have had geometry? If you've had geometry, you're probably like, yeah. How many of you guys have not had geometry?
Well, I haven't had geometry, I've had elements of geometry.
Elements of geometry? Yeah. A lot of this is elements of geometry. If it's and how many of you have geometry, but it's been a long time? There you go. That's where you go. Oh, geez, man, I'm rusty. Andrew, did that make better sense?
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Monica?
I was gonna ask if we could have a break.
Yeah, I see you squinting. I'm like, oh my goodness, you need your glasses. Yeah, it's about time for a break. That makes sense. So if you guys need one, let's save what we're doing. We, just get that over there on the other side too once you get it all cleaned up. And it's about 10:40. So let's come back at say, let's give you 15 minutes, okay? So come back at 5 minutes till 11 because we're not very far and we should be. I'm gonna stop this recording after I copy that over. Alt, Shift. There we go. Yeah, get you a snack.